you're going to see families and victims and people in the community, elected official, real people doing real things, you know what I'm saying? So I just want to give a big shout out to, the people that my colleagues and the people I work with as well. And I want to introduce those who don't know them and those who don't know the people who are actually doing the work behind the scenes. So that's what this show is about, in addition to, keeping the memory of those that we lost to gun violence alive, you know what I'm saying? And that's basically what we're doing every Saturday, you know what I'm saying? You're going to get a couple of different podcasts from me. But this one right here, Foye, you understand? Agents of Change, that's what we're doing tonight.
Community members and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
We outside tonight, people. Live on Twitch, CSO Communications. CSO Communications, you heard? We actually doing the Chris Owens Foundation podcast tonight, which is actually labeled the Gun Violence Survivor Series.
And listen to survivors of gun violence, community members, and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers. What up, what up, what up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, Episode 1. This podcast is brought to you by families.
We outside, people.
Survivors of gun violence who are now
trying to get y'all some content right now so y'all can take a look at what we do in the community. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of good people were lost. People getting shot out here in these streets, man. We gotta say something. Got little kids getting shot. People ain't even in the life, the crime life. Understand what that is. Just want y'all to know. We outside tonight. Representing loved ones, people I lost. My son, Chris Kim Owens, in case you guys didn't know. I'm a parent who lost a child with gun violence. At the age of 13, he lost his life in Harlem. Y'all know him as Boo Bob.
What up, what up, what up?
A rapper for life, you understand?
And this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, Episode 1. This podcast is brought to you by families, victims,
the families, the victims, the shooters. We looking at people who are agents of change, who no longer engage in the crime life and gun violence and the gang life. They're not active. They just trying to do good for their community and the people and trying to teach the youth.
What up, what up, what up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, Episode.
We outside tonight. We outside tonight. Check us out, man. Live on Twitch. We outside doing some things. I'm about to speak to y'all about a couple of things. We had a shooting that went on over there in Tompkins houses in Bed-Stuy, pardon me, in Bed-Stuy. And tonight I just want to talk about a couple of things. We had a shooting response. Coco put it together. She's a community activist, both sides of the violence. I like to highlight people in the community that are actually doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? So besides what we do over at the Chris S. Owens Foundation, that's my organization I started for my son. He was killed by a stray bullet. But tonight we're going to speak about a few things in regards to gun violence. We know we on a little bit late tonight, but better late than never, right? Better late than never. So we live on Twitch. I just want to show y'all a couple of things. I'm getting some things together in the background too, so I need you guys to tap in, hit me on the chat if you want. We doing it big tonight. CSO Communication live on Twitch. Check us out, man. This is the Gun Violence Survivor Series.
What up, what up, what up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series.
Representing my son, Kim Owens tonight, and victims and people who lost someone to gun violence. We outside.
Now, agents of change. Subscribe now and listen to survivors of gun violence, community members, and elected officials share their stories of triumph.
That's what we doing, man. That's what we doing. Check us out. CSO Communication live on Twitch. Tonight, every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. We outside right now, 10:52. We had to give y'all a little something because we didn't want to just go out like that. We had some technical difficulties.
Subscribe now.
Subscribe though, hit us up, man. Hit the alert, subscribe.
And elected officials share their stories.
You're gonna get a lot of content every week. We just dropped in this episode 1, the podcast. Like I said, we representing families and victims that lost someone to gun violence. It's my son, Chris shot him home.
This podcast is brought to you by families.
Keep his legacy alive, just like we're keeping others alive. Just by mentioning their name. We talking agents of change, you understand? It's what we do live on Twitch every Saturday. The Gun Violence Survivor Series. Tune in. We're gonna have a lot of interesting people. Gonna be on this show, man. Just wanna let y'all know we doing our thing, you know what I mean? My name is Chris Foye, I'm your host. I'm outside right now doing my numbers so you guys can get an understanding of what we do behind the scenes. You know, I'm a community activist as well as a director, producer. Like I said, I do this from the heart. This is what we do, man. At the end of the day, I just want y'all to know that you got people out here that's working in the community, trying to get y'all some footage right now so y'all can get an understanding of what we do. Check us out.
What up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, episode 1. This podcast is brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence who are now agents of change.
Agents of change.
And listen to survivors of gun
Subscribe
violence.
now, hit the subscriber.
And elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
That's what we doing, people. We outside tonight. We trying to show y'all stop the gun violence at the same time.
And this is the Gun
Understand
Violence
this,
Survivor
man.
Series podcast.
There's a lot of violence going on.
This podcast is brought to
We need
you
to
by
get it together.
families, victims, shooters, and survivors
highlighting
of gun
good
violence
people
who
tonight.
are now agents of change.
People who actually
Subscribe
did
now
good in the
and listen to
community.
survivors of gun
People who was
violence,
once involved
community
in the
members, and elected
drama.
officials share their
But
stories
now they doing
of
different
triumph
things,
and
man.
tragedy
Different
with
things
my
in the
audience and
community.
viewers.
Check us out. My name is Chris Foye.
What up,
This is
what
the
up,
Gun
what up?
Violence Survivor
I'm your host,
Series.
Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series.
I want y'all to check
podcast,
out
episode
some
1.
people
This
in the
podcast is
community
brought to
that I
you by
work with as
families,
well.
Victims, shooters,
Stop
and
the
survivors
violence
of
out
gun
here,
violence
y'all.
who are now agents of change. Subscribe
4
now
people was
and listen
shot
to survivors
over the
of gun
weekend.
violence, community
And I just
members,
want to let y'all
and
know
elected
we on it,
officials
man.
share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
Just attended the shooting response, man. And I just want to show y'all a couple of things. Like I said, I'm outside tonight late, man. I'm giving y'all something that I don't really usually do, but I felt the need to do it because there's a lot going on. You know, I want to highlight some people in the community as well that have been doing some great things. Like I said, I just attended the shooting response, and it was crazy. And like I said, 4 people were shot. And I just want to acknowledge, you know, some of the things that's going on out here. And I think everybody need to do that as well, you know. We all need to do our part and stuff like that, man. And it's real. And like I said, I do this from the heart. But I want y'all all to know, tonight, we're going to be outside, you know, trying to give y'all something real. Trying to get this thing together, man. For y'all, it's the first show. First show right now, episode 1.
What up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, episode 1.
That's right,
This
we
podcast
outside.
is brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence who are now agents of change. Subscribe now and listen to survivors of gun violence.
Survivors of gun
And
violence.
elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
That's what it do. Tonight we outside.
What up? I'm your host, Chris Foye.
I want y'all to know this is what we do. Hit me up in the chat.
Episode 1.
I'm about to highlight some people tonight.
Families,
We had an incident that went
shooters,
on.
and survivors of gun violence who are now
I'm trying to
agents of
literally
change.
show y'all
Subscribe now
some
and listen to
things
survivors of gun violence.
so we can get the
Community
conversation
members
going.
And elected officials share their
know
stories
what I mean?
of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
We get this thing going. We let people
What up?
understand
I'm your host, Chris Foye.
That
And this is the Gun
violence
Violence Survivor
no
Series
good in the
podcast,
community.
episode
Nobody
1.
wins.
This podcast is brought to
It's
you by
temporary.
families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence.
I'm giving y'all a whole new show.
Subscribe
Whole
now
new show.
and listen to survivors of gun violence, community members, and elected officials share
That's
their
what we doing
stories
tonight,
of
dude.
triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
That's what we doing.
What up, what up, what up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor
Gun
Series
Violence
podcast,
Survivor Series
episode
podcast,
1.
episode
This
1.
podcast is brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence who are now agents of change. Subscribe now and listen to survivors of gun violence, community members, and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
We got a couple of issues going on with some of the production
What up?
in regards to
I'm
like
your host,
showing
Chris
certain
Foye,
videos.
and
So
this is the Gun Violence
you know, we
Survivor
gotta
Series
literally
podcast, episode 1. This podcast
let
is
y'all
brought to you
know
by
that
families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun
we
violence
outside
who are
tonight.
now
No
agents
matter
of
what,
change.
we giving y'all the
Subscribe
heat.
now and listen to survivors of gun
We
violence,
giving y'all the fire.
community members, and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
That's what we doing.
What up, what up, what up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor
That's
Series
exactly what it is,
podcast,
man.
episode.
That's exactly what it is. It's episode 1 of the podcast. We had to give y'all some fire tonight. Let y'all know what's going on. My name is Chris Foye, I'm the host. We live on Twitch right now. So right now we literally gonna show y'all some content once we get this thing going the way we want it. You know what I mean? But we just wanna let y'all know. This that fire, man. Like, we gotta have these conversations that go on in the community. It was a shooting that happened out in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn today. Not today, but actually a few days ago. But I attended a shooting response that was most necessary. That was definitely necessary. You know what I mean? And I definitely want to highlight and give a big shout out to Coco. She's one of the community organizers who put it together. Just to identify shootings. We got organizations out there like Man Out, you know. And I just want to highlight, you know, a lot of the people that's out here working, doing the numbers, doing the work. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of times, you know, people don't get a lot of the respect and credit for what they do. But if I could do it right here on my platform, I'm gonna do it. Like I said, this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series. Check us out every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Tonight we outside late.
This podcast is brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence who are now agents of change.
Agents of change.
Subscribe now and listen to survivors of gun violence, community
That's what we
members,
doing.
and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
It's a fact. We outside.
What up? I'm your host, Chris Foye,
outside.
and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, episode 1. This podcast is brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence.
Survivors of gun
Agents
violence.
of change. Subscribe now and listen to survivors of gun violence, community members, and elected officials share
What we
their
doing?
stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
That's a fact.
What up, what up, what up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, episode
get y'all
1.
this footage.
This podcast is brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence who are now
But at
agents
the end
of
of the
change.
day, like I said,
Subscribe now
we
and listen
talking
to
about it. I
survivors
just
of
want
gun
you guys
violence,
to
community
understand
and elected
this is a
officials
conversation
share
that's
their
actually
stories
needed.
of tragedy with my
You
audience.
understand? There's a lot of gun violence going on out here.
What
And I
up,
just
what
want to
up,
be the
what up?
one to highlight the people in the community that's trying to put a stop to it. This is the Gun Violence Survivor Series. We outside today.
Shooters and survivors of gun violence who are now agents of change. Subscribe now and listen to survivors of gun violence, community members, and elected officials share their
Exactly.
stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
That's what we doing tonight.
What up, what up, what up? I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, episode 1. This
Episode
podcast is
1.
brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence who are now agents of change. Subscribe now and listen to survivors of gun violence, community members, and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedy.
This is the Gun Violence Survivor Series. We represent people who lost someone to gun violence. Like I said, my name is Chris Foye.
I'm your host,
This is my son,
Chris
Owens. As you guys don't know or do know, this is what I live for. I do the work to try to save people who was out here in the streets one time, like myself, committing the violent acts and stuff like that. But like I said, once I started doing the work, my heart changed, you understand? And that's what we do at the Chris S. Owens Foundation. You know what I mean? We take shooters and turn them into businessmen. We take gangbangers, turn them into respectable, upstanding men. If they didn't have the morals and integrity at one time, they definitely gonna have it when they running around with us at the organization. So, for those who don't know, we actually in the movement every day. And we trying to change minds and save lives at the same time.
I'm your host, Chris Foye, and
This is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, episode 1.
This podcast is brought to you by families,
victims,
and
shooters.
survivors of gun violence who are now
Takes a community to change it.
Subscribe now and listen to
That's what we doing now. We outside.
Community members and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
That's exactly what we doing tonight. I want y'all to understand this podcast right here is definitely necessary.
Series podcast,
Understand
episode
things
1.
that happen in the
This podcast
community
is
need to be
brought to you by
highlighted,
families,
not just the shooters.
survivors of gun
Good
violence
stuff too.
who
You
are now
understand? The things that people
now
do in the
and listen to
community.
survivors of gun violence, community members, and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
That's right. Hit me up in the chat. Like I said, hit me up in the chat.
What up,
We
what up,
live
what
on
up?
Twitch tonight.
I'm your host, Chris
We doing
Foye,
that
and
thing.
this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, episode 1. This podcast is brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors
We
of gun
outside.
violence who are now agents of change. Subscribe now and listen
Like
to
we're gonna be
survivors
on every
of gun
Saturday
violence,
from 8 to 10.
community
Like I
members,
said, this is
and
episode
elected
1.
officials share their stories
We just
of
letting it
triumph
flow
and
right now.
tragedy.
We had some technical difficulties earlier, but we outside. I'm gonna let y'all see a couple of things.
I'm your host, Chris Foye, and this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast,
I need to know
episode
the
1.
conversation is needed in the community. The gun violence is out of control. We outside. Little kids getting hit. Like, come on now. That ain't gangster. Ain't nothing gangster about that. So right now we outside trying to show y'all exactly how this thing works. I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of understanding about me and things that I do in the community as well. I run the Chris S. Owens Foundation.
This podcast is brought to you by families, victims, shooters, and survivors of gun violence who are now agents of change. Subscribe now and let's
Subscribe now.
Gun violence, community members, and elected officials share their stories of triumph and tragedies with my audience and viewers.
This is what it do, people. I want y'all to check this out. This is real deep right here.
I'm your host, Chris Foye,
In another
and this
country, 38-year-old Eric Garvin, a lawyer from Staten Island, was in Chile when his
It's the Gun Violence
passion for
Survivor
photography
Series.
came to a sudden and violent end.
Rest in peace, Eric
He was shot to
Garvin.
death on the streets of Santiago. His father, devastated by the news, spoke exclusively with Eyewitness News reporter Mike Marza
This is
about
what
the
we
tragic
do.
loss.
It's the
Mike?
Gun Violence
So
Survivor Series.
heartbreaking. Eric Garvin went to Santiago with
Rest
his
in
best
peace,
friend,
Eric
and two
Garvin.
stayed in separate parts of town. And when Garvin's friend couldn't find him, well, he went to the U.S. Embassy to report him missing, but instead, he was dead in a hospital morgue. Chilean authorities telling the family Garvin, who, as you mentioned, was an avid photographer
Live
and
on
explorer,
Twitch right now,
may have
live
been
on
wrongly
Twitch.
targeted in a drug turf war.
Eric Eugene Garvin visited over 40 countries, many with his older sister Naomi. There they are in Cuba.
He made friends very quickly with our hosts and her extended family and even some of the neighbors on the block. But yeah, he never had a concern about going out of the country.
But on vacation in Santiago, Chile, Saturday, January 14th, he was shot and killed, taking a picture.
From a father's
Gun Violence Survivor
this is
Series.
the darker
Rest
days
in peace, Chris Kim Owens. Big shout out to Eric Garvin.
His father and sister
He
flew
was
to Chile
definitely
to meet
someone to
with
be best in
investigators
love.
who are reviewing unreleased security video of the crime.
What they told us that my son was
Big
innocent,
shout out,
walking down
Eric
the street.
Garvin.
Paused for a moment. He took a snapshot of a building in a drug-infested area, and immediately following that, 3 gentleman came across the street, grabbed my son, stole his phone, and they shot him 3 times. And he died there on the scene.
The 38-year-old attorney by trade graduated high school in Maryland and moved to Staten Island a decade ago. He lived a life of exploration and service inspired by his dad, a former U.S. Air Force.
Big shout out to Eric
He was
Garvin.
going to law school at University of Maryland. He met a homeless guy by the name of Darnell. And Darnell had this growth growing on the side of his face, and he had no idea what that was. And my son said, hey,
Gun Violence Survivor Series live on
check that out.
Twitch.
Make sure he's okay. And what he ends up finding out was that was cancerous. And if it was left untreated, he was going to die. My son going to law school, he was using his advocacy for those who are often not paid too much attention to.
Gene, as his family called him, also worked with former Mayor de Blasio's office on community initiatives to reduce gun violence in areas like Brownsville, Brooklyn.
I want people to be more like him, right? I want people to make space for each other. I want them to be curious.
Rest in
about
peace,
each
Eric
other,
Garvin.
experiencing each other's cultures.
His sister Naomi asked me to mention that Santiago is a beautiful place with beautiful people, and authorities there have been helpful in this investigation and are hopeful there will be some arrests soon. But violence that has plagued parts of Venezuela, Brazil, and Colombia now spilling into the streets of Santiago. In fact, homicides in that city have shot up 40% in the last 6 years. Currently, there is not a U.S. State Department travel warning to Chile.
We outside tonight. The Chris S. Owens Foundation. This is the Gun Violence Survivor Series, Episode 1 podcast. We gonna do it big, man. We shouting out to all the families and victims that lost someone to gun violence. Tonight we'll be playing and actually celebrating the life of Eric Garvin and my son Chris Shot Kim Owens and families and victims that lost someone to gun violence.
I think I said that, thank you. And I don't say that, I don't take that word lightly, and I don't say it lightly. Eric Garvin was a friend. For him to go out like that is very heartbreaking. Someone who was an advocate.
This is the Gun Violence Survivor Series, Episode 1 podcast. Check us out, man. We outside tonight.
Foundations, thank you, brother. Thank you for always supporting Staten Island. Always staying connected with me. We got more work to do. Thank you, bro.
Big shout out to Iron Mike.
We came out to salute our brother. Eric was
Big shout out to all the community activists that came out in Staten Island to represent Eric Garvin's life.
And he was one of the brothers that I met that, my course of trying to get funding and get things going.
We're gonna shout out all the movers and shakers that's in the game, the big players.
Really one of the people who I seen come out with the suit, Eric, right? He always
This
was
is
sharp.
the Gun Violence Survivor Series podcast, Episode 1.
The way, things happen, it's a timely death, gun violence.
Live on Twitch.
Out here, we work to prevent. So for me, it was just like really eerie because, both creative people, he actually worked with me on some of my film sets, more retroactive. He was my camera guy, but like I said, he was a friend as well. So he basically died in the process of using his creativity. And that could have been me or anybody, So, we definitely, we love him and we definitely support, all the work that he did. And I didn't want to just let him, go without acknowledging what he actually did for, certain people in the community of Staten Island. He actually worked with me at Neon Arts right here. He was one of my teaching artists as well. So we was real, close in regards to like, the work and just everything on board, someone you could talk to, build with, as men. So, I definitely salute him today. I don't want him to just, his memory to just go and, celebrate him and honor him as well. Just like, a lot of us here, we all human, we all gonna go one day. So I definitely want to acknowledge him and the work that he's done and, the legacy he has left. And, I just wanted to show that for me and my heart, my organization, the Chris Owens Foundation. So,
Big shout out to Eric Garvin and the Chris Owens Foundation.
Salute.
Always gonna be a real one part of my organization. He was definitely my teaching artist, camera guy, very creative. Sad he lost his life like that to gun violence.
You've been a supporter, a fighter for us. We've sent people your way. You've helped us personally. You've helped our
Big
people.
shout out to Tasha Lloyd as well.
Dizzy, of course, salute, bro. You know what it is. What more can I say? Thank you, bro. Mikey DeVito,
These are
thank
some
you,
of the
bro, for
best,
supporting us. So I'm gonna pass the mic
the
to like
greatest
the
players in the
one
game. I mean,
This
the
is
gun
for
violence
Eric Garvin.
prevention and
Thank you all
intervention
for
saving
coming.
lives.
Thank you all for
I call it a
coming.
game because
Thank
it's
you,
really
thank you.
not.
Now
So don't
forgot
think
this
it's a
one.
game.
First,
It's really not a game. It's real. You understand?
Thank you.
People losing their lives out here.
We all here for our brother Eric. This situation, I know I'm not the only.
We outside tonight. Like I told you, this is the Gun Violence Survivor Series. My name is Chris Foye. We doing it big. Celebrating the lives of people that we lost to gun violence this week. It was a shooting in Bed-Stuy. 4 people were shot.
You know, I love seeing everyone, but not under these circumstances. You know, we're all here trying to do this work. And
Chris shot Kim Owens.
first, before I talk about Eric Garvin, I want to say a special shout out to former council members Debbie Rose and our Assemblyman Charles Fall, who actually made the trek to Maryland and to be a part of his homegoing ceremony. So we just definitely want to give them, you know, love for holding it down for us, and also for the family and friends that decided to do something here. When I heard that Eric Garvin had died, I was at a funeral burying 3 children that died in a fire on Staten Island. And it was
This
my
is what
brother
we
who
do.
gave me a
Big
call.
shout out to
My
City
brother
Council
is,
as well.
You know, we're born and raised in Staten Island, so his father is my brother's one of my brothers.
There's a lot of great people out here, elected officials that's doing their thing as well.
That, you know, this gentleman, you know, I travel the world, he's traveling the world, and we're still contending with gun violence no matter where we go. It all has to end, but it also starts here. It starts here with the work that Penn and Perry is doing. It starts by the work that our public advocate is doing, Jamani Williams. It starts and ends.
Big
with
shout
the work
out to
that
Jamani
Eric
Williams
Ford is
as
doing.
well. Like I
Everybody
said,
here
these are the big
to make
players,
sure
the
we
movers and
save
shakers
one
out
more
here.
life, because I'll tell you,
Big
that's
shout
like
out to
my son.
Jamani Williams
He's
doing
out
his
there
thing as
doing his
well.
thing. He's an artist.
Always
My
for the
son's an
people
artist.
out here. I see him doing his
Multimedia.
thing.
Eric Garvin was a humanitarian. He was a Renaissance man, and I can't imagine the trajectory this brother would have been. You know, council, assembly, Congress, anything he wanted. He came from a family. His grandmother, Miss Margie Garvin, we got to shout her out right here, right now, because she's the grandmother of us all. So I just wanted to be here and pay my respects and commune and love on with you all today as we do this balloon. You know, we release these balloons for this young man, and we have to just keep praying, because like your brother said, it could be any of us. So he's all of our sons.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Erica, because you always have something.
We got a couple of major players that was actually a part of this event. Big shout out to Erica Ford as well. Like I said, we're gonna highlight everybody who's out here trying to save lives, doing their thing. Big shout out to Erica Ford. She's definitely someone that's always been around. She's the godmother of the movement as well. We have a few major people. I call every one of them. That's everybody that's in the game of saving lives. It's all major to me. Everybody. It's no big or small. Everybody's doing their thing, playing their part. I just need to highlight them and let you guys know.
We got to salute our soldiers, you know, because as someone said before, Chris, I think it was, that the dash is all we got. The dash is all we got. And you get measured by your dash. And we can
That's a
say
fact.
truly that Anthony Eric.
We highlighting the good. People who like to see a lot of the bad out here, some good out here too as well.
He didn't care if he had the job title or he didn't have the job title. He fought for us. He fought us to let us see what we was doing and how we should do it. Because sometimes we stubborn and we hard-headed, right? And we know it all, right? So we gotta take lessons from
That's real.
Eric was one of those thoroughbreds that always made sure
Real.
that he us being successful in this life.
life of Eric Garvin.
It's a disease. That's why we can go to another country and see that people are affected by that disease, and we still become victims of their illness because the disease on the international level is not cured, right? And so all of us standing here today are part of the medicine that not only we need, but our people need, so that we can be healed and continue a true legacy of Eric Garvin. And so as we stand here, some of you who didn't even know Eric Garvin, understand that we are standing here saluting one of our own soldiers. And that's what we do. We respect and we honor our own. We respect and we honor our own.
It's a big
so
fact.
it is not we do it a favor for Penn and Perry and Chris. We are standing together, saluting and playing honor to a soldier who has fallen victim in the streets to the thing that we say we want to help resolve. And so once again, Eric Garvin, I can't hear y'all tired, y'all sad, y'all mad, y'all lazy. Eric Garvin!
Job well done.
We can't hear you, Eric
Job well done.
Garvin! Job well done! Eric Garvin! Job well done! Home streets! Our streets! Our streets!
These are our streets, people. It's a community. It takes a community, right? To raise a child. That's what we doing. That's what we doing. We outside. The Chris S. Owens Foundation. This is the Gun Violence Survivor Series.